Hey, it's Lauren. This is an excerpt from the full-length episode. To listen to the entire episode, head to the show notes and follow the link.
This episode has been brought to you by the Afterlight Institute. Ignite the light, magic, and miracles within.
Okay. Well, 5G is our, how to put it, it's the mobile phone and mobile data communication system these days, which is delivering higher speed to more people, because what we were using, which is 4G, which we're still using, was just running out of speed and availability to the amount of people who want to access the internet these days and communications. So with 5G, like the 4G with mobile phones, we have our towers. But with 5G, there's two different types of 5G. We could almost say there's three now, but we'll just stick with the two. And so there's the 5G, which is installed onto the original, the 4G towers, mobile phone towers here, there, and everywhere around, scattered around the country, around the world. Then the other type of 5G is where they install the 5G antennas into what they call, and the industry in Australia calls it smart poles. All a smart pole is a light pole, which are our telegraph poles, which run up and down our streets everywhere, or they're just purely for lighting only. And the 5G in what they call the streetlights, the microcell antennas which go into the streetlights, they are actually the real 5G danger. And that is because when they install a 5G streetlight network, they go into a suburb, and suburbs are delineated by main roads. So if you look on Google Earth at any suburb, and if you move or change your filters around to a certain way, you'll see that suburb is bound by that road, that road, that road, that road, and that road. So they'll go into that suburb, and if the streetlights have not already been converted to LED streetlights, because all the smart poles or the 5G streetlights are LED, and a lot of councils around the world, especially here in Victoria, Melbourne, have been doing it for the last few years, because there's also a power saving, less greenhouse gas type of thing associated with the installation of them also. So they'll go in and they'll change the streetlights over to the new LED streetlights, and they'll install the microcell antennas, and then one in every 5 or 6 streetlights, they'll put up a repeater station, which is a white box with 2 antennas hanging off them, and they'll turn the system on so that everyone in that suburb can get high-speed internet, great use with their 5G phones. Everything works fantastic. No NBN slow problems or issue like that. Not having a go at NBN, but it has been a bit of an issue, even for me. The problem with that is that when they have all these antennas so close together, and they're 20 to 30 meters apart, you get a geoelectric current, or a localized geoelectric current, being generated through the ground throughout that suburb. And I'm not saying that some of the buildings in that suburb may not have already had geoelectric current, because if you've had a death on a property, you'll get geoelectric current. If you're in some commercial buildings, you'll get geoelectric current. So there's other ways of generating it, but the whole suburb will come under geoelectric current, and then within that suburb, you'll get the subsequent earth radiation, which will rise out of the ground to about 1.5 meters out of the ground outside. But every single building within that suburb with the 5G streetlights, every single building gets engulfed in radiation charge. Then on top of that, what's called geoelectric grid lines, which are earth magnetic grid lines, which are about 2 meters wide, and they're walls of energy that rise vertically up. They will start emanating out of the ground, and the charge, or the amount of geopathic stress you experience within the grid line, it will be more severe than outside the grid line. Although outside the grid line, you'll be under quite a lot of geopathic stress, because the whole building's engulfed in radiation charge. The natural ley lines, which I was talking about before, they get knocked out because the positive charge overrides the negative charge from the ley lines, so they don't exist anymore. Any small bodies of water, like lakes and rivers and dams and things like that, and water generally has a negative charge, but is ultimately influenced by its environment around it. So all those little water bodies and lakes and rivers or whatever in that zone with the 5G streetlight, the frequency of the water goes from negative charge to positive charge, negative being good, positive being bad. So what happens is that if you were living in a suburb and you had a ley line running through your house and you had, nice garden plants give off nice energies or negative charges. Everything was spiritually aligned and beautiful in the house. When they come along and turn that 5G on in the streetlights, everything that you'd done to create an energy, spiritual sanctuary in your house just goes out the door. And we've even been to suburbs in Australia which have got the 5G streetlights, because guess what? In Victoria, in Melbourne, there's none at all. In Sydney, Canberra, especially Canberra, Brisbane, Perth, and Adelaide, they've been setting up 5G streetlight suburbs since about, I think, early mid 2018, if I'm right. Although the 5G streetlight rollout stopped at the beginning, just before the beginning of the COVID pandemic, which is interesting, but that may start up again. Anyway, so that's the dangerous 5G. The human meridian system is completely depleted because the body's, no matter where you go within that suburb, the body's under constant geopathic stress. That's the dangerous one that I can talk about anywhere and no one can refute me. No fact checker can come along and say it's a load of rubbish, because I'm not the first one to work out what's going on. The very first 5G streetlight suburbs constructed in the world, I think, was in the UK, a city called Gateshead. And when they turned those lights on, or turned that system on there, everyone got sick really quickly. And the English people living in that particular town, they kicked and screamed and they jumped up and down and complained to the council, to the telcos, to the government. There were court cases over radiation harm. There's all sorts of things. That was, I think, in 2017. So what I'm saying is not unusual. It's just what's actually going on. The other 5G is what I spoke about before, and that is in the mobile phone towers. Well, a mobile phone tower, if you were able to get within 10 meters of the actual panels, which are the antennas, you'd come under severe electromagnetic stress because it's a charged field coming from the panel. The towers are generally up high and you can't get near those panels, but a mobile phone tower will create a geoelectric current through the ground like the 5G, but only to the boundaries of the compound that it's in. Or if it's in an open general area, will be up to 50 meters around the tower itself, no greater than that. So that's geoelectric current going through the ground. So if you build anything within 50 meters of that tower, then the whole building is going to come under, be full of charge, and everyone in there be under geopathic stress, even though, because it's coming from a tower, they think it's electromagnetic, which it is, but it's earth radiation generated. But beyond 50 meters of the compound, if there's no other cause or source of geoelectric current, then what you have is a radio frequency wave going through the air. And the radio frequency wave has no positive or negative charge. It's actually harmless. But that's something that not many people understand. And people try to refute me on that and say, oh, look, my EMF meter, which is a radio frequency meter, is going through the roof with its reading. But what they don't realize that the EMF meters, they're all built and they're calibrated down to make you think that you're in danger. But the people who sell the EMF meters, the radio frequency meters, don't tell you that, hang on, radio frequency waves at a certain distance away from the technology, which is beyond the charge field, is actually harmless. So there's all this fear going around about, oh, look, there's a 5G tower being installed over there and it's 300 meters away from me. And I read something that says that no matter where you go, if you can see these things, that you're going to be under severe electromagnetic stress and you're going to die of cancer or something, that some idea that someone's put into your head. It's actually not true. They're completely safe. Then there's this term called the millimeter wave. Well, we don't even have millimeter wave in Australia. And I know that because I've spoken to telcos. Like, I go and knock on their doors and they get curious. They come and see me. Like, I had a guy at an expo in Sydney last May who was a telco who worked on the 5G installation, he came to hear me talk about 5G, thinking I was another 5G crazy. When he started hear me talk about the two different types, and one is dangerous and it's plainly obvious, and one isn't, but everyone's claiming that one that isn't dangerous is. He came up to me after the talk and said, "Geez, I thought you were a 5G nut, that you had the knowledge that we have," and he actually invited me to go and to talk to his guys about my perspective as a building biologist, which is coming from outside in rather than them all knowing their information and try and get their information out, which is not being listened to whatsoever.